Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? You are knowing what you are wanting. You are enjoying the evolution of your own desire. You are appreciating the contrast that provides the basis for the new desire. Pretty much answers that. You acknowledge that contrast is the basis of focusing into desire. And you acknowledge that desire is necessary for the expansion of all that is. You acknowledge that if your life and its contrasting components could not provide a basis for you from which to desire, that there would be no expansion. You acknowledge that sometimes the contrast provides an asking, because when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So the asking is out there, but you have no idea when it's going to come to fruition. You don't know how it's going to come, where it's going to come from, who's going to be instrumental in it, or when it's going to come. And so it is for those reasons that we think that you're not all that excited about contrast. Because life causes you to ask or to want, to desire, but then there is this buffer of time between the time that life has inspired the desire within you and you get to see the fulfillment of the desire. And in that lag time, you get ornery. You say, where is it? Where's my stuff? Abraham, you must be wrong. It must not be as simple as asking, because I've been asking and I want to know where my stuff is and when it's coming. And we want you to realize that if you can just accept that when you ask, that you do extend vibrationally forward a request that is vibrationally immediately answered. And many of you, especially if you've been listening to us for a while, you say, and I should be happy about that because a vibrational rocket of desire has flown forth from me and it has been vibrationally answered, but what does that mean to me? Because I still can't see it and I still don't have it. What does that mean to me? And we say, it means that the creation has begun. It means that life has caused you to set it forth. It means that the source energy part of you is not only focused upon your desire, but has become the vibrational equivalent of it. It means that what you've asked for has been answered, and all you have to do is find a way of lining up with that. In other words, you've set forth the vibrational rocket, and it is vibrationally now so active that it is amassing all components that are necessary for the completion of it. But what you may not realize is, once you've launched your rocket of desire, that you must be one of the cooperative components. or law of attraction can't put you where your manifestation is. You sort of kind of get that? Before you came into this physical body, you were source energy. And even though you are now in this physical body, the larger part of you is still source energy. A vibrational being, that's who you are. It's hard for you to recognize that because you're so magnificent in your physicalness. But you are vibrational beings, and if you can just begin to accept that you are a vibrational being, first, last, and always, that you are a vibrational being who is creating through the vibration of thought. Everything is about vibration. So, you were non-physical energy. Part of you came forth into this physical body, and now, to be very accurate, you have two vibrational aspects of you. There is the aspect of you from which you came, and there is the aspect of you as you are focused here in this physical body. Some would refer to that as your soul or your God force. We call it your inner being. And then, of course, there's the physical part of you. And we want you to become aware that these two aspects of you, these two vibrational aspects of you, are playing off of one another all day, every day. And your emotions let you know how the dance is dancing. In other words, when you, in the thought that you're thinking right now, I'm loving you, I'm appreciating you, I'm having a good time with this, I'm enjoying this, I'm basking, I'm loving, I'm appreciating, I'm focusing in ways that, in my physical body, that match who I really am. When you are a vibrational match to who you really are, you feel those emotions that you would call joy or exhilaration. You feel frisky. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. But when you feel fear or despair, or even when you're ornery, that means something that you're focused upon here in your physical body has you vibrationally out of whack with who you are. Your vibrational relationship is indicated to you through your emotions. So the story gets even better. You were non-physical energy. Part of you came forth into this physical body. Here you are, you know this part. You know what you don't want, you know what you do want. Through the contrast of life, you emit these continual rockets of desire. So when a desire is formed within you, it precedes you. That's why we call it a rocket. It emanates from you in a very strong way. And when that happens, the part that you usually are not aware of is that the non-physical part of you follows that rocket, gives non-resistant, undivided attention to that newly amended request, and literally becomes the vibrational equivalent of what you have asked for. Another way of saying it is, the larger part of you just expanded to include this new request, which means now you, here in your physical body, have something even more to become a vibrational match to. Do you know you would never feel negative emotion, not one time ever, if in your physical body you did not ask for more? If contrast did not cause you to know what you don't want so that you know more clearly what you do want, the non-physical part of you would not become more. And if the non-physical part of you did not become more, there would be no vibrational variance between who you are being in your physical moment and who you have become. Now, if you can grasp that, everything in your world will begin to make sense to you. Everything in your life and everything in the lives of anyone that you get to watch up close. Because every time you feel negative emotion, it always means the same thing. Your life caused you to expand, and you in your physical body didn't go. In other words, you go to the mailbox, the bills are all there, it's that time of the month. You sit at your desk, you have more bills than you have money, and you feel fear, frustration, maybe anger. You feel those negative emotions that you feel when there isn't enough of something you want or when there's too much of something you don't want. And in that contrasting moment, you do something that probably on this topic you've done many times. You emanate now a clearer, stronger rocket of desire that says, I want more money, I want stability, I want to be financially on top of my world. And as you emanate this rocket, we're not kidding you even a little bit. The non-physical part of you receives it fully, understands it completely, focuses upon it entirely, and never deviates from the newfound vibrational place that you just discovered through that contrasting experience just now. So now what's happened is your intense desire for financial well-being has been exaggerated one more time, and the non-physical part of you has become vibrationally more prosperous as a result of your contrasting experience. You just expanded. Oh, and now, law of attraction, this powerful law that is responding to all vibrations, is responding to this point of attraction. And we so want to get your attention. We so want you to understand what that point of attraction is. You, this eternal you that has been attracting for longer than you even have any sense of time. And all cooperative components are being assembled to that point of attraction. The question is, are you a cooperative component? Or are you saying, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. What am I going to do? I don't have enough money. I've never had enough. I've never had enough. I've never had enough. We're beating the drum. I've never had enough. I've never had enough. I've never had enough. You get a sort of cadence going. That's what a belief is. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So if your belief is, it's hard, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't have enough, I can't make my money stretch, I don't know how to get more money, I'm working as hard as I can. As you beat the drum of not enough money, you keep active in yourself a vibration that prevents you from being a cooperative component. Now over here, where law of attraction is responding to your new desire, not just responding to it, has vibrationally become it, and we want you to understand how good that is. Do you know that everything you see that is manifested, including this planet that you live on that is spinning in its orbit in perfect proximity to other planets, everything that you know as your vibrational universe was once a vibration that was attracting all cooperative components. So it takes some attraction before it becomes manifest, but by the time you are here on this planet, in this physical body as an extension of source energy, when life causes you to ask for something and you put it into your vibrational reality, you like that term? Your vibrational reality, we're calling this vibrational reality. This is your reality. This is your vibrational reality. We want you to feel the fullness and the bigness and the importance and the power of this vibrational reality, because it exists always before there is a manifestation. And the time between the vibrational reality existing and the reality that you count as you put the money in your bank and so on, that time difference can be instantaneous. There can be no time difference when the vibrations match up. In other words, when you ask for something and you believe it, there's no vibrational variance, so there's no time difference. It happens. When you want something and you know it, it is. But when you want it and doubt it, there's a time gap because you're not vibrationally up to speed with what you're asking for. And you've got to get vibrationally up to speed with what you're asking for, or you are not a cooperative component. Now, you don't need to worry. Other cooperative components are not going to run off with your stuff, because you have put them there and they are being tended for you. This is your creation. This is your unique creation that is vibrationally encoded to you, for you, by you, and tended to by the larger part of you. You've just got to become a vibrational match to it, which means you got to chill out. You got to stop beating the drum. You've got to stop using the step one experience. You know what step one is? Step one is where contrast causes you to ask. Step one, so vital. But if you get hung up in step one, I'm asking and asking and asking and asking and asking, do you know that the vibration of the question and the vibration of the answer are two entirely different vibrations? The vibration of the problem over here, the vibration of the solution over here. And what do we mean by over here in this vibrational reality? We're calling this the vortex of creation. You've got to get in the vortex. You've got to get inside that vibrational vortex. You've got to be a match for what you've asked for, or you will not see it, even though it could be looming all around you. There are all kinds of solutions to your problems and all kinds of answers to your questions. They are all around you, but if your frequency is different, you will not see them. You cannot set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and see what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. The frequencies have to match up. But you know what happens with so many of you? In your physicality, you think, I'm here, I can see, I can hear, I can smell and taste and touch. If it were around, I would see it, I would smell it, I would hear it, I would taste it, I would feel it, I would know it, I would be able to see it, Abraham, if it were here. We say, not if you're on a different vibrational frequency. It's hard to accept, isn't it? You feel so tangible. You feel so real. You think your life experience is so much about just walking into a room and observing. But you are a vibrational being, and this is a vibrational world. And there are so many different worlds being lived right on your street, right in your city, right in your nation. This world is as diverse as the individuals who are vibrationally moving about. And you have only one thing to do. You've got to match yourself to your own vibration. Why? Because if you don't match yourself to your own vibration, it's not just that you won't get your stuff, but you won't get your stuff. It's not just that you won't find your lover or that the money will not flow. It's not just that the manifestations of what you want can't come to you if you're vibrationally varying from the vibration of them. It's that you will always have that empty feeling that is indicated by the negative emotion that you feel. In other words, you got to get up to speed with you. It's not just that you want this thing, it's that life caused you to become more. You see, oh, here is the thing we want you to hear. You might not know this, we must tell you. You are the creator of you. It's not just the house you want, it's not just the lifestyle you want. You are the expanded being. It's the creation of you. In other words, when you go to the mailbox and out of the experience you want more money, you have created a more prosperous being that you've got to get up to speed with. There are those who say, oh, don't be greedy. And we say, you've got to be kidding. They're telling you, after you've gone to all of the trouble of coming from non-physical into the physical for the deliberate purpose of exploring contrast and expanding, they're saying, don't worry about keeping up with your expansion. That's paramount to saying, never mind joy, never mind alignment, never mind enlightenment, never mind knowledge, never mind coming into your own, never mind being who life has caused you to be. You gotta be who life caused you to be, or you won't feel the joy that is natural to you. In other words, you've got to do something, and you're the only one who can. You've got to do something about the thoughts that you think, often on a chronic basis, that separate you, that's too strong a word, but who hinder you. Those chronic thoughts that keep you vibrationally out of whack, out of alignment with who you are. So today, all day, we'll be talking about the relationship between you and you, and we want you to feel the power of this vortex. We want you to realize that everything that you've been asking for and everything that vibrationally you have become is spinning in this vortex. And if it were not spinning, and if law of attraction were not responding to it, and if you hadn't become this more prosperous, better feeling on top of the world being, if you hadn't become that, then you wouldn't feel the negative emotion that is your indicator that you're not keeping up with it. You might say you're a little bit like a two-headed monster. We just want to get both heads going in the same direction. So, we're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. Nothing is off limits. It is our desire that as a result of this conversation that we have together today, that you leave here remembering who you are. We want you to remember the power of your being. We want you to remember that you are source energy here in this physical body. We want you to train your thoughts one by one into alignment with who you really are, so that you can feel the wholeness of who you are, so that you can feel the worthiness of who you are, so that you can return to the power of that which you are, so that you can be the uplifter that you've come forth to be. When you're in the vortex, you are in alignment with Source, and your ability to influence and to call others into the vortex is a very potent and powerful thing. When you're outside of the vortex, you're outside of your power. In other words, when you feel bad, you're not in alignment with the whole of that which you are. And when you're not in alignment with the whole of that which you are, you have nothing to give another. But if you are selfish enough to care about how you feel, and selfish enough to guide your thoughts one by one into better feeling thoughts, until you systematically train yourself into vibrational alignment with who you are, now the whole of you is pouring through you. And anyone who receives the benefit of your gaze has received something wonderful, because you have shined the energy of Source all over them. When you see someone, and in watching them you feel bad, that means you gave something you didn't want enough of your attention, that you trained yourself into vibrational alignment with that, and in doing so, you left the range of who you are. You get it? Negative emotion, outside the vortex. Positive emotion, inside the vortex. Some say, it can't be that cut and dried. And we say, well, it's true, your vortex does keep moving. Life keeps causing you to ask for more. And your standards of who you are keep moving to higher and higher levels. You keep raising your own bar. With every life experience, you ask. With every contrasting experience, you become more. But when you begin to care about how you feel, and you begin monitoring your thoughts in the sense that you're trying to find the best feeling thought you can find from where you are, what begins to happen, and in a very short time, is that you begin to perceive more and more of your life from inside the vortex. And people who are watching you begin to notice the difference, because they notice you have more energy, you have more stamina, you clearly feel better. They begin to notice that things that they knew you want are flooding into your experience. They begin to notice that there's an ease about you that only ever comes when you get into your own power. Imagine an airplane high in the sky, 30 or 40,000 feet, 500 or 600 miles an hour, flying across the sky. You're in the plane and you're looking out the window and you see the landscape going by, and it's all just right. Put that same airplane on the ground at that speed, it wouldn't feel so good. When you get up to speed with who you are, when you get into this vortex, when you bring yourself vibrationally up to speed with who you are, you have control. Esther was watching a very beautiful young man being interviewed. He's a race car driver at high rates of speed. And his interviewer was saying to him, because you are so young, aren't you afraid? And he said, something you have to understand, that nobody understands except those of us who drive these high-powered, high-speed vehicles. When you're out there on the track, and everyone else is going the same speed you are, it doesn't feel dangerous like it does to you who aren't out there up to speed with us. And Esther thought, that's what Abraham's been trying to say to us. When we get up to speed with who we are, it doesn't feel too fast. It only feels out of balance when we're not up to speed with who we are. In other words, when you get into the vortex, your life will be as you knew it would be, as you planned it to be, and as it should be. What do you want to talk about? Some things. And I want to let you know, do you accept that your life has caused you to set forth all kinds of requests into your vibrational reality? Do you? So, do you accept that in that sense, in that literal sense, this seminar has already gathered in this vortex? And do you acknowledge that inside that vortex is where we are? So, can you accept that everything that you want to know is in this vortex, and we've seen it and know it? and we'll answer it. And can you accept that in order for you to hear it, we have to coax you into the vortex? In other words, you can't be out here and hear the answers that are coming from in here. So that's the whole point of what we've been doing for the last few minutes. We've been bringing you into the vibrational vicinity of that which we are. Jerry and Esther received a letter the other day from someone very mad at them and us. She said, I sat in the seminar all day long with my hand up while I listened to stupid question after stupid question after stupid question. And I never was called on. And Jerry said, I wonder why. Because if you are not in the vicinity of the vortex, even if you have a penetrating and important question, you are invisible to us, you see. We choose you vibrationally, and the best choices that we call forward of the chair are those with pointed questions where your life has brought you to a sharp, clear wanting to know, and an understanding or an expectation or a willingness to be in the vicinity. And so, if you're anywhere near us, you're going to hear us say, it is our promise to you that whatever it is you're wanting to know, we will give you fully, not once, but several times today. So just relax and expect that whatever you're wanting to know will be answered. And it will be recorded. Because we're talking to you at many levels of your being. In some cases, there are future experiences that you will live that will cause questions to be formulated within you that we are going to give you the answers to today. Because they're already in your vortex, they just haven't played out for you. And so you're going to discover a long list of unfolding as a result of this gathering. So, now what?
I'm finding easier to be in alignment downstream with my own vortex. The challenge is when it comes to meeting a friend, a stranger, business meeting, a picnic, a party. All of a sudden we are...
Well, we have to interrupt you just for a moment because we don't want to hear your feeble excuses. We're just playing with you a little bit, very little. Because what you just said was, if there is very little variety for me to focus upon, I can maintain my alignment with who I am. But when there is variety for me to focus upon, I have a more difficult time focusing.
Yes. However, to keep your mindset going downstream or on a positive note, when most of the conversations are actually going upstream.
But here's the thing. We know it is.
How do you participate?
Well, what you do is you prepare yourself vibrationally before you go out. In other words, let's say that you wake up and you remember something unpleasant that happened yesterday. So you activate it in your vibration just by remembering it. And as you hold your attention upon it, and it gets more active. After 17 seconds of attention, it becomes more active still. And after another 17 seconds, more active still, until you can get a pretty good point of attraction going on. Now, the thing that we want to help you to remember is that while that's happening, you're getting further and further vibrationally from who you really are and what you really want. Because yesterday, when that contrasting experience happened, you put rockets of desire into your vibrational reality, into your vortex of creation, and you expanded even because of what happened yesterday. So today, you have even more higher vibration to live up to reach for than you did before that incident even happened. But let's say you don't know that, or at least you're not thinking about it, and you wake up this morning and you start thinking about what happened again. So you activate it in your vibration. Then you walk out into the world, and now you've got that vibration going. Law of attraction is going to bring you more stuff like that. The most interesting thing, we're going to try to demonstrate this for you just to get all of your attention. So you hear us talk about this vortex. You get what it is? The vortex is where your inner being is, where the larger part of you is, and where all cooperative components of everything you are, everything you've become, and everything you want have assembled. That's the vortex. It's some wonderful thing, vortex. And here you are somewhere in relationship to it. So, as you're giving your attention to whatever's going on, you are establishing your relationship with this vortex. So let's say that you're focusing upon things going wrong, and now you're remembering other things going wrong, and now you're having a conversation with someone about things going wrong. So you've really got this active stuff going on that's clearly got you outside the vortex. So now we're going to demonstrate what life is like outside the vortex. You're out there with all the others who are outside the vortex. And we got to tell you, most of them are out there. 100% of politics outside the vortex.
We're aware of it. We know.
Almost without exception, all religion outside the vortex. Think about it. Don't do that. You'll be damned for that. You'll go to hell for that. In other words, outside the vortex, outside the vortex, outside the vortex. So now you're outside the vortex. Most people are. And outside the vortex, remember, you're not connected to your clarity, you're not connected to your power, you're not connected to who you really are, you're nowhere near the vicinity of what you've been wanting, and most of all, you just feel rotten because you're outside the vortex. So you're out there banging around, and now you're doing what most people are doing outside the vortex. You're trying to organize circumstances and events, only nothing's cooperating because the vortex that's spinning out there is sort of like the anti-vortex of what you want. The lights don't change in time for you, and you miss this, and you miss this, and you call that person, and they're not there, and then the battery runs out on your cell phone, and then you realize you need to stop and get some gas, and then you go to the gas station, and that pump doesn't work, and that pump doesn't work, and then you find a pump that works, but the card thing doesn't work, and so you have to go in, and then they give you the gas, and then the receipt thing doesn't work, and you have to go back and stand in line, and then the lady in line has 15 bottles of pop, and she's waiting for her kids to come over there, and they've all got candy, and it's taking 25 minutes for them to check out, and now you're late, and now your cell phone's not ringing because it's out of battery, and you left the charger someplace else, you don't even know where it is, and you ask them if they have a payphone, and they say over there, but it doesn't work, and outside the vortex, nothing will cooperate with you outside the vortex. And then you say, it's hard to be positive when things, and so everybody's scrambling around. The Republicans are after the Democrats, and the Democrats are after the Republicans, and the Muslims are after these, and the Christians are after these, and everybody's mad about this, and they're going back in history, they're trying to figure out, well, how did it get started, and who said what when, and did you know that then, and how did you know about that, and did you do that, and why did you do that, and let's get the records, and let's all read them, and let's figure out who did what, and we say, just kill me now. You can't sort that stuff out. You can't even remember what you said yesterday or why you did it. You can't remember what was going on, but the fact is you're outside the vortex and you have not the benefit of the cooperative components. You haven't accessed the laws of the universe. Law of attraction's doing its work for you over here, and you're outside the vortex complaining that you can't make it work. Saying, and we don't blame you, it's hard. And we say, we know, but you're spending so much time doing all of that futile stuff, trying to remember, trying to keep records, trying to keep track, making monuments, trying to remember what went wrong. You said, he said, you said, he said, you said, he said. When all in the world you got to do, the only thing you got to do, one thing, one simple thing, get in the vortex. Just get in the vortex. Because when you get in the vortex, all cooperative components are there. When you get in the vortex, you are inspired to the speed, to the traffic, to the gas station, to remember. In other words, when you take the time to get into the vortex, everything lines up for you. And so we have so many conversations with so many people that want to know what went wrong or how could I make it better. And we want to say blah, 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 blah. Don't waste your life outside the vortex trying to figure out one thing. None of it makes any difference. Not one bit of it makes any difference. Spend 100% of your time, let all of your effort be about getting into the vortex. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, the way we would go about that is we would put ourselves in our bed after the day has ended, and we would lie in our bed determined that before we sleep, we would find a long list of things to appreciate. There are so many things in your world. Now, it might take a little time because you're mad at that one and 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 mad at that one. So you try to pull your mind to appreciation, then you remember them, and then you try to pull your mind to appreciation, then you remember them, and then you try to pull your mind to appreciation. But if you care, if you want to, if you will try, you will find something to appreciate. And when you do, milk it for everything you've got. It's like your lifeline. Milk it. Think about it. Stay there until another thought and another thought and another thought and another thought of appreciation until you drift into slumber. Now, once you go to sleep, you'll move into the vortex anyway. But if you get into the vortex before you go to sleep, you'll wake up in the vortex. Now, hear this. If you're out of the vortex because people have been creepy to you, and they have, you're not making this stuff up, we know. So you're outside the vortex and you go to sleep. When you go to sleep, you release consciousness, you go right into the vortex. But when you wake up where you were before you slept. If you take the time to get into the vortex through your rampages of appreciation before you go to sleep, you'll wake up in the vortex. You will. So you wake up and you say, I'm still in. Then lie there and recapture 2 or 3 things that let you stay there. Then, once you've brushed your teeth and refreshed yourself, sit for a moment with the intention of doing a focus wheel or 2 or 3. You know what a focus wheel is? A focus wheel is the best process that we know to help you to get into the vortex. And the focus wheel itself replicates the vortex because the focus wheel is a spinning wheel. Essentially, the process is you draw a big circle on a piece of paper, and in the center, you draw a small circle, and then 12 little circles around the outer edge. This represents the vortex. So let's say something's bothering you. Like what? What is an example of interacting with people at work or whatever that clearly takes you out of the vortex? What was on your mind when you sat down and addressed us just now?
The first few minutes with someone after you say hello and
but
then
give us
it
an
takes
example
you
of
into
something.
another.
Give us an example of something that commonly takes you into a place you don't want to be.
Right away, people normally go into a conversation that has to do with somebody sick, somebody who lost a job.
Give us an example. We're going to do a focus wheel. So choose the one that you hear the most, that you trip over the most often.
A friend of mine just got fired and everything is going so bad lately. Society, the world is bad.
Okay,
the newspaper.
So the reason you're going to do this focus wheel now, the next morning after having that encounter with that friend, is because you want to be in the vortex and you care about your friend, and when you think about your friend, you go out of the vortex. So it'd be better if he didn't exist, it seems. But he does exist, and you're focused upon him, and you're focused upon him in a way that takes you out of the vortex. So this is a good reason to do a focus wheel. So now you've drawn your focus wheel, which represents the vortex itself, and outside of the focus wheel, outside of the vortex, you're just going to make a statement that clearly represents your out of the vortex feeling. So you write, and we're just going to keep feeling around until we vibrationally hit what it feels like out there. I wish my friend would get his life together so I didn't have to listen to his complaints that always make me feel bad as I hear them. Pretty good. Let's see if we can find it a better way. There are so many people who have such messed up lives, and when I think about them, I feel bad. Pretty good. Let's see if we can hit it better. My friend who I care about forces me to focus upon him, and when I do, I feel bad. That's about right. I can't not think about my friend, and when I do, I feel bad. I feel bad when I think about my friend. I wish my friend would get his act together so that when I think about him, I could feel good. Yeah. My friend owes it to me to get his life together so that when I think about him, I can feel good. How's that? I feel bad when I think about my friend and I don't like it. So any version of that, they're all about the same, but you get the. Now, in the center of the focus wheel, you want to write what you're really reaching for. And a way of looking at this is, how does the source within me How does my inner being who's in my vortex of creation, how does my inner being see this situation? So now you're reaching for the opposite of that. You're reaching for the opposite of what's bugging you. And you have to feel around until you feel it. You'll feel the resonance of it as you find it. So you say something like, I want to be able to keep my friend in my life and still feel good. I want a continuing relationship with this person who I care about, but I want to feel good with that relationship. Pretty good, huh? I want to stay connected to Source regardless of who I'm focusing upon. Pretty good. I want to discover and practice and perfect unconditional love. I want to be so tuned to Source that focusing upon the plight of people I care about doesn't jerk me out of the vortex. Getting closer. So now let's find a really positive way of saying it. I want to stay in my vortex regardless of where my dear friends are. How's that? Pretty good. I want to stay in my vortex regardless of where my friends are. So now you know what you want and you know what you don't want. Now we're going to do a focus wheel in order to shore up the vibration, because now you're out of the vortex, but you have identified what's in the vortex, and the Source within you is really focused upon that, and you've set the time aside. It only takes 5 or 10 minutes to do it. So now the 12 little circles that are around this vortex, now you got to get on the wheel. In other words, you know those playground merry-go-rounds that they're spinning, the kids are already on them, they're going so fast that when you try to get on it, throws you off in the bushes. If they just slow it down and let you on, then you could have a nice ride. Well, this is sort of like this. So you got to slow the wheel down enough that you can get on. So now what you're reaching for is something that you already believe that matches that center circle. Something that you already believe.
We want to co-create together. We all want that. Maybe we're going the wrong way, but...
Off in the bushes.
Okay.
I like this person. I genuinely like this person. You do. You genuinely like this person. That puts you on the wheel. I like this person. I don't like how he drags me off in the bushes all the time with negative stuff, but I genuinely like this person, so you're on the wheel. Now you reach for another thought. I like knowing that I can focus and keep myself feeling good. Maybe this friend is going to help me learn to focus even better. I don't think it's his job to live a perfect life so that when I look at him, I feel perfect.
Isn't this too much I instead of the we that I'm trying to...
Well, you can say we or I, it doesn't matter. And if it doesn't feel good to you, then it's not a good approach. But there isn't anything.
It feels good. I just don't feel that I'm participating or that I'm helping or that I'm being...
In this process or with your friend?
With a friend, with a scenario.
Well, now you're getting distracted, you see, because while we know what you don't want, which is now what you're talking about, and you know what you do want, now we're giving it everything that we've got to stay focused in the vicinity of this.
Right, which is all me. It's all this.
Well, here's the thing. You can't perceive outside of your perspective. Everything that you perceive is through the eyes of you. And the thing that we want to help you to understand is this is the you that we're trying to get you lined up with, you see. So the whole point of a focus wheel is to focus you into the you that is you see. So that's irrelevant. So I really like this person. And I'm not opposed to learning to focus. And I can accept that it's not his job to stand on his head in order to keep me happy. And as it's not my job to stand on my head to keep him happy. And the whole point of this focus wheel is because I'm wanting to find a way that I can feel good regardless of what's going on with him. Because I can't control the uncontrollable. And that's what's been bothering me. That's what you said when you sat down. When I'm off to myself, I can feel pretty good, but when I get out in the world where things happen, then I can't. And we say, that's because you're not focusing. So now we're teaching you how to take an incident that happens in the middle of a day, which causes you to put something into your vibrational reality, and then how to shore yourself up on that topic. I really like this person. And I know that life is sort of hard for him right now, but I believe that it will get better. And I don't think that his focusing on negative things are going to make him feel better, but I don't think my getting on his case for focusing on negative things will make him feel better either. So now we're just sort of feeling around until you can find some things, but the whole thing is more active now, isn't it? So now let's make a concentrated effort and let's fill up those 12 slots. So I really like this person. And there have been many times that I've interacted with this person that I've had really a good time. That's why I count this person as a friend. When we focus on things that make us feel good, we both feel good. It's not his job to focus in a way that makes me feel good. It's my job to focus in a way that makes me feel good. I'm enjoying discovering the power of my mind. It's easy to feel good by looking at something that does feel good, but there's no learning about focusing in that. Maybe this friend is going to be something really valuable for me because his problems are removed enough from me that I'm not viscerally really feeling them as my own. And yet I care enough about him that I keep getting off balance. So this seems like the perfect scenario for me to learn how to focus myself into alignment. There are aspects of my friend that when I focus upon them, I feel good. This is an aspect of my friend that when I focus, I always feel good. What is? Give us an aspect of that friend that when you focus, you always feel good.
Sense of humor, positive outlook on life. And this guy has, this specific person does. It's just what is happening. It's what it is instead of what he's actually looking into. I know his life is going to change.
So let's start again. I really like this person, and I know it's not his job to live a perfect life so that I can feel better. And he really has a wonderful sense of humor and ordinarily has a pretty positive outlook on life. And this too shall pass for him, and things are getting better for him all the time. And I understand how law of attraction works, and I know that there are aspects of him that when I focus upon them takes me out of the vortex, and there are aspects of him that when I focus upon them takes me in the vortex. And I realize that the way I feel about him is about how I'm focusing, not about what he's doing. And I like having this experience of knowing that because there are so many aspects of him. Now you're on the wheel and it's spinning. Can you feel it? In other words, now we would go right from a focus wheel into a list of positive aspects about the very subject that brought this up. Now, this could be about this specific person, or it could be about people in general like that. But now let's go into a list of positive aspects because you got on the wheel is spinning, which is another way of saying you're now in the vortex. You're now seeing this friend through the eyes of Source. You're no longer outside the vortex being mad at him because the subject of him dragged you out. You've dragged yourself back into the vortex, and now you are prepared to see this friend through the eyes of Source. So let's make a list of positive aspects. The thing I love most about my friend is
commitment, loyalty, love for life.
Now let's talk about this just a bit, because you see, we think that you just pinpointed something really important. There are so many people that believe in commitment, and what they mean by that is, hey, I'm outside the vortex, and if you were really my friend, you'd come out here and feel miserable with me.
True. Yeah.
I thought you were loyal. What's going on with you? You're in the vortex, all frisky, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, acting like the world is your oyster, and I'm over here suffering. Hey, man, I thought you were my friend. I thought you were my loyal, committed friend. Come out of that damn vortex over here and be miserable with me. We're onto something pretty good here. In other words, there's a misunderstanding because the commitment and loyalty that you're reaching for, friends, you want to be loyal to your vortex. You want to be committed to vibrational alignment. When you've got a friend outside the vortex and you go out there, and then that's the last time we were talking about. Everybody's mad at everybody. It's only when you get into the vortex that you can be who you are. So Now you're in the vortex. Let's make a list of positive aspects. I appreciate this person so much because.
He can be a friend.
He's clear-minded when he's tuned in. There's nobody that's more fun when he's in alignment with who he is. And this is a person who is much more often in alignment than not, as a general rule. I know that there's some things that have got him off his game, but usually I've been drawn to him because he's been a catalyst that brings me into alignment. And that's what I wish to be for him.
Wow.
Positive aspects of this friend are he wants to feel good and reaches to do it. Positive aspects of this friend are he's a powerful wanter. When he wants something, he really, really wants it. He's sort of an all or nothing person. He gives himself in an undivided way to whatever he gives his attention to. And in doing so, he moves forward in fast ways and succeeds in powerful ways. And when he gets tuned in like that, he breathes a breath of fresh air into anyone who's around him. And maybe one of the reasons, this is a little aside from the positive aspects, but maybe one of the reasons that I and others are so upset with him is because we have looked to him to bring us into the vortex, and now he's out of the vortex. He can't lead us into the vortex, and we've been wanting him to be someone who leads us in, not leads us out. But maybe this is a very big gift that he has given me, because it's not anybody else's job to lead me into the vortex. It's my job to lead me into the vortex, and so now I'm in the vortex. I'll lead my friend into the vortex. Yes?
Yes.
So the list of positive aspects is easy. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and very, very funny. And I know that he really likes me, and he bounces back easily. And he looks for positive aspects in most things, and he's usually an optimistic person. And I've always enjoyed being with him, and there's no one that I'd rather do this with, or this with, or this with, or this with.
Yes.
So now, list of positive aspects. So now let's do the next best thing. Now that we're rolling here, let's get on to a rampage of appreciation. I so love knowing about law of attraction. I love knowing that I am the creator of my own reality. I love understanding about the vortex and coming into alignment with who I am. I can feel my power returning. I can feel the fun of being inside the vortex. The world looks beautiful to me again. From inside the vortex, I don't feel so concerned about my friend who's not in the vortex, because it's not a big deal to get into the vortex. When I first sat down here, I was feeling uncomfortable because someone was taking me out of the vortex, and now I actually realize that it was a gift because it is giving me control of where I am vibrationally. I can get into alignment with who I am. It's nobody's job to stand on their head to put me in the vortex. That's a very conditional love that I've been living. Hey, when I look at you, I want to feel good, so you need to behave in ways that I always feel good. Ooh, there's an entrapment in that. There's loss of power in that, because now I got to control all of those missing pieces. I got to control all of that, because if I can't control that, then they can't feel good. And if they don't feel good, then I can't feel good. I'm going to stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and I'm going to do the only thing, the very simple thing that I can do. I'm going to get in the vortex. I'm going to find a way of thinking about this or anything that gets a lot of my attention. I'm going to focus will myself into the vortex. Esther carries a little notebook with her, and when something happens, she writes it down. She says to Jerry, oh, good, more vortex material, more focus wheel material. She just really likes to get hold of a piece of something that's out of whack, because she knows she can focus wheel it back in. And every time you do, so here's this friend that's been bothering you. And with this conversation, you have cleaned up years of out of the vortex vibration. You're in a far different place. This one friend has helped you to line up your vibration relative to so many out of the vortex things. And we want this, what we want this to have done for you, for all of you. We want you to recognize the futility of trying to fix anything from outside the vortex. You just can't do it. Have a conversation with somebody from outside the vortex, it just goes on and on and on and on and on for years and years and years and years and years and years. You never get it settled. You never get it settled. But if you're wise enough to recognize that all of that clamoring about caused you to create this magnificent vibrational escrow, and then you just use any excuse you can find, even though sometimes it's not easy, to get in the vortex where you have clear view, you'll be blessing every one of those rascals, because they were the step one that caused you to create all of this. And now you used your own power and your ability to focus your own mind back into vibrational alignment with what they helped you to create, you see. So then the conversation with your friend goes like this. Hey, friend, I know you're having a hard time, but I got to tell you, you have helped me so much. What? Well, all that complaining you've been doing. Every time you told me something that you didn't want, I thought about what you did want. So you helped me to realize, through knowing what you don't want, knowing what we all don't want about the economy or about troubled times, you helped me to know what I want. And then I just sort of distracted myself from your struggle long enough to focus upon the success that I want for you and for me and for others. And I found this new blissful place. Somehow, it's like I've come back into my power. I can feel that while it's hard to explain, I'm better because of the struggle you lived and my attention to it. But I got to tell you, I'm over your struggle part. So don't be upset with me, because I'm not going back there. Because I'm so sure of the power of your being. I know things are going to get better for you. They always do. I know how smart you are and how clear-minded you are and how good you are at things. And hey, thanks.
Very good. Thank you.
So wasn't that interesting?
Yes.
Came full circle, didn't it? He sat down concerned about people that when he focuses upon, he doesn't feel good. And think about the powerless position that is. When I focus upon this person, you might have a lover like that, or a mother like that, or a daughter like that. You might have a friend like that, or an employer like that, or an employee like that. That when you focus upon them as they are, you just feel awful. And it seems like they need to be different. Because if they'd be different, you'd feel better. But you haven't got the control to fix that, do you? But you have the control to get in your vortex. And when you do, now law of attraction has to match you up with things that match you. When you consistently spend time in your vortex, the people that are not in the vortex will think you are a bit freaky. Because you'll be living such a good world. They'll think that you have magic.
I've been working on my vibration and using the emotional guidance scale to get me into alignment. And of course, joy, appreciation, and happiness being at the top. But I have a question about when you're feeling those emotions. Let's say you start off the day and you're feeling great. You feel happy, you feel in alignment, you feel in the zone.
Which means, in this moment, while I'm feeling happy, I've chosen to see it as the source within me sees it, so there is no vibrational variance in this moment of focus. Important, in this moment of focus. Some subjects are easier than others, but in this moment of focus, I've focused myself into alignment with all that I am, so the wholeness of me is pouring through me, and that's why I feel that power, that thrill, that appreciation, that love, that clarity, that exhilaration, that passion.
And according to law of attraction, you would be attracting that is like that to you. But what about when you're in a great mood, you're in the zone, and then you come across something, whether it's another person's negativity or all the things that you mentioned before? Why are you attracting that?
Here's the flawed premise in that. First of all, you cannot be drawn to something that's not active in your vibration. So anything that happens, there's something active in your vibration that has caused that rendezvous. Sometimes, let's say that you are really tuned in and someone having not such a good time comes into your experience. It may be that inside the vortex you have called them because they are wanting something that you have to offer. But you can tell by the way you feel where your vibration is about the subject. In other words, It's a very common misunderstanding, a true flawed premise. People will say, I know I was feeling good, but then this happened. And we say, the way things manifest always match the vibration that you've got going on. But law of attraction is also responding to what you've got going on over here. In other words, there are literally vortexes all over the place relative to different subjects. And so let us be clear when we say to you that anything that happens to you only ever can come in response to an active vibration that you've got going on. And if you aren't aware by the way you feel that there is a contradictory active vibration going on, we call that pre-manifestational awareness, don't worry about it. It will get bigger until it will manifest, and then you will see it. Well, it's all right, because when it manifests, what happens? What happens when something you don't want manifests? You know what you don't want, you know more clearly what you do want, so the stakes are higher. You put more power into your asking, which means now you're more aware, or you can be if you care about the way you feel, about whether you're a vibrational match to this newly revved up, newly amended, newly created vortex.
It's understandable that contrast is there to show what we don't want, but also by nature, the fact
contrast is there to choose from.
Choose from, okay.
In other words, contrast doesn't exist as the bane of your existence. Contrast exists as variety. You may not believe this, and a lot of people don't, and we're not kidding, even though we sound sarcastic. There are things that you see as unwanted contrast that others see as wanted. Just like when you go to the cookie counter, you might not want the peanut butter cookie, but you shouldn't demand that they be taken away from the counter. Just don't pick one. Oh, that peanut butter stuff's going to get on my plate. I know it is. I'd feel so much better if you just remove it. And we say, just pick what you want and leave the rest. And that's the way contrast is. It's there for you to choose from.
Can vibration be cleaned up to the point where it's pure and you don't attract anything that contrasts, that you have smooth sailing, peace?
Here's the flaw in that reasoning. What you're saying is, Abraham, I would really like it if I could just look into an environment and see only what I want, because it's so much easier to see what I want and then just have a positive response to seeing what I want. And we say, there's no expansion that can come from that. That would lead to endedness. The expansion comes from seeing what you want, seeing what you don't want, launching the rockets of desires, recognizing that there's a vibrational variance, and then having the fun, and we cannot emphasize this enough, having the fun, feeling the thrill of bringing yourself into alignment with your newfound expansion. That's what life is. That's what life is. That's the ride you came to ride. People say, Abraham, you've got to be kidding. I came to stir up trouble so that I could solve it. And we say more or less. You came to expand. And the thrill of physical experience is then coming into alignment with the expansion. So then you do. And for a moment, you have that calm that you were talking about, that peaceful feeling of satisfaction and contentment. But right along with the accomplishment of what you set out to accomplish, you also now have a new vantage point with a new set of contrasting experiences that's going to launch you into more expansion. And we want you to leave this gathering not only knowing about the vortex and not only more queued up to understand your emotional guidance and how it helps you close the gap, but to understand that life is about expanding and aligning and expanding and aligning and expanding and aligning. And we promise you that if it could be the screwy way you've defined it, where you finally get everything just the way you want it so that there's no more contrast and therefore no more reaching and therefore no more aligning, you would not only be bored, you would be done. And there is no done in this eternity that we are all creating together.
Thank you.
You see, it's like saying, I'm going on vacation and I'm going to go to that city and 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 that city, and then I'm going to come back home. And then with your objective human out of the vortex mind, you say, oh, wait, I'm home, and home is my final destination. Why go? Vacation already accomplished. I'm going to check it off my list. Because you don't go on the vacation to get it done. You go for the clarity and the fun and the entertainment and the new relationships. You go for the exhilaration. You go for the expansion. And that's why you come into this contrasting experience. You are a creator, and you create by focusing your mind. And there is nothing that you wanted more from that non-physical vantage point than to pour yourself into the specifics of this leading time-space reality, where all that had happened before had provided a platform of continuity that you could plant yourself down and look around, and then from your genius, personal, important, worthy perspective, come to a new conclusion about what would be just a little better from your vantage point, what would be just a little better. And there it is, and there it is, and there it is, and there it is. And Source, who knows the reason for your being and knew that you out here on the leading edge would define further expansion, said, yes, we agree, yes, we agree, yes, we agree, yes, we agree. Source takes the expansion that you carve out from your important perspective and stands there steadily holding the vibration of that newfound place, the leading-most place in all of the universe, carved out of the deliciousness of the contrast of this leading-edge time-space reality. And for just a little while, there's a gap between you and where you've gone. And you know it because there's an uneasiness about it. But you're wise enough to know that that uneasiness means you've carved out something, and that if you move in the direction of it, it will pull you in the direction of it, and the ride will be thrilling to you. And so you turn and you align and you focus wheel and you rampage and you positive aspect and you wouldn't it be nice if, and you catch up with it and you feel the thrill of the expansion. And then you find your new vantage point, and then you begin again. In Tahiti, Jerry and Esther and so many others, they were out on a beautiful ship, and there were little launches that took them into the islands where there were other wonderful excursions. And on these launches that moved pretty rapidly through the water, there was quite a wake that they left behind. And some of the local boys had discovered that if they paddle their canoe very close up behind the boat that's moving quite rapidly, that they can have a terrific ride in the wake of this energy. And so you see them coming from all around, paddling, just wanting to hit it just right. And if they hit it just right, with reasonable paddling, they could keep up with the speed of this motorboat that's going through the water. It was thrilling to watch. Jerry and Esther have played the game in their former not caring so much about life days with little vans behind 18-wheelers. You can get in the draft of the 18-wheeler. You can drive cross-country and use none of your own fuel. So, in essence, this is what we're talking about, in that life has caused you to set this energy forward, and it has created this draft, as you will, this calling, if you will, that when you get in the proximity of it, you can feel the ride of all that focused energy. And that's why you come. You didn't come to get it done, and you didn't come to fix something that's broken, and you didn't come to seek worthiness because you weren't unworthy to begin with. You came for the thrill of the ride. And the thrill of the ride is carved out of the contrast. If it were not for the contrast, you could not decide. And once you've decided, Source takes that decision and runs with it with the power that creates worlds. And when you line up with that, you're living life, you see.
Thank you. Some would say we never become fully actualized until we heal the emotional and psychological traumas of our past.
They would be wrong. We would say, in an effort to heal the psychological and emotional traumas of past, you have to focus there. And as you focus upon those psychological and emotional traumas of your past, you activate the vibration of them. And since life has caused you to go so much further, you just use that as your current excuse not to keep up with who you are. And you can cause an indefinite rift. That is not to say that those traumas didn't cause expansion. But now the work is to do your best to turn yourself in the direction of the expansion and stop trying to explain how the expansion came about. Here's the best way to hear that. This conversation about the vortex makes it easier to explain everything. Do you like it? So, can you hear us when we say, the problem is always outside the vortex? The solution is always inside the vortex, and they're very different frequencies. So if a person is asking the question, addressing the problem over and over and over and over, then they're holding themselves in a chronic state outside of the solution. You see? However, if you do that long enough, for every moment that you hold yourself outside the vortex, experiencing the trauma or the struggle or the problem, you're launching more rockets. And as you launch more rockets of desire, the larger part of you is expanding. So this calling gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And so it is possible to ask and ask and ask and ask and ask and ask and ask from outside the vortex until you've got a really strong calling. And then it is possible to distract yourself for a moment from the problem, and the vortex will take you in. In other words, picture this vortex. So here it is spinning. There's a powerful attraction going on. Everything that you are and everything that you desire, everything that you've become is there. And you're in despair, nowhere near it. Well, the solutions are there, but you can't find them. The answers are there, but you can't find them. What you want is in there, but you can't see it. The path isn't clear for you at all. Let's say you're in revenge. You're a little closer, but you still can't see it. Let's say you're in anger and less anger. You're closer, but you still can't see it. Let's say you're distracted. You're petting your cat, or you're having a massage, or you're at a ball game. You're doing something where you're not keeping all of that activated. So you're in a place of satisfaction or joy about, it doesn't matter what. You just, for this moment, deactivated that thing that's keeping you away. Now the vortex can take you. So the vortex takes you in, and it's unfamiliar to you. You have a sort of feeling of elation. You feel a little disoriented because you're not used to being in there, but something wonderful happens, and now you feel a little more hopeful than you did before. Well, if you're hanging around in the vicinity of hope, the vortex will take you in often. And once the vortex takes you in and shows you the solutions, gives you the insight, rendezvous you with the things you want, pretty soon you start believing, you see. But a regimen of going back to try to explain the problems of the past holds you there every time, no exception. We're stubborn about that.
I totally agree with you. But some would say...
They too would be wrong.
That these incidents, or these perceived incidents from our past, sort of limit our potential.
Say it again. Some would say that these perceived problems limit potential, but the only reason that they do is because you're still perceiving them. You're still keeping them active in your vibration. So the some that you are saying would say that by going back and looking at them and resolving them, you could leave them in a different place. Well, that's an entirely different situation. Here's the thing. Let's be fair to this whole discussion. You are where you are. That's profound, isn't it? I am where I am. I've got these habits of thought, and because I've got these habits of thought, I've got this chronic vibration going on. So law of attraction is bringing me this life. What's manifesting in my life is an indicator of how I'm vibrating. You just can't get around that. And if how I'm living is different than what I want, then there is this gap between who I really am and who I'm letting myself be. So if your intention is to, from where you are, which is the only place you can be, to reach for the best feeling thoughts you can find, what happens is, little by little, you find yourself more and more in the direction of, and eventually inside the vortex. Jerry tells a story where he couldn't bear the idea of eating green beans. And when someone offered them to him, he always said, no, thank you. I eat about anything, but not that, he said. And one day, after refusing the best looking green beans ever. Grandmother had grown them in her garden. She'd carefully cut them and prepared them, and there they were on the table. And grandfather could not believe that this ridiculous boy, a man really, was going to refuse the best green beans in the whole world. And Jerry said, I just don't like them. And he said, do you know why? Jerry said, no. He said, when you were a baby, your mother read an article that green beans were good for you. So you had green beans for breakfast, and green beans for lunch, and green beans for dinner, and green beans for breakfast, and green beans for lunch, and green beans for dinner. We all thought you would be green. Green beans, green beans, green beans. And when Jerry heard that, he said, oh, well, let me try some green beans. So there was a resolution from that past. Is that what you're getting at?
In a way.
So now bring us back around to where you are.
Okay, so my question is really in your ability to take yourself to the vortex.
Yes.
If you've had a trauma from your past that affects your self-worth or your positive outlook in life, does that not handicap your ability to go to that vortex?
Yes, it would. But here's the thing, and this is a wonderful conversation that you're stirring up here. So let's say something happened long, long ago, and it wouldn't be affecting you now if you didn't continue to replay it. But let's say you do sort of continue to replay it. So you kept that resentment, or you kept that trauma, or you kept that injustice active in your vibration. Well, the fact that you kept it active in your vibration means that now you've moved through time, you're still attracting new current stuff around that vibration. So you don't have to go back and deal with that old past trauma. It would be enough to deal with the one you attracted just now. But let's say you don't do that. So you move through more time. Now you've got this compiling of traumas because you kept something active in your vibration and then you attracted more. We say, if you don't deal with it and clean it up, don't worry, it will get bigger. So the point that we're making is that it's ever so much more productive. Our friend today that we sat and did the focus wheel, there would be no benefit in going back into his past and trying to figure out how he attracted that friend or why that friend is rendezvousing with him on the points that he was. It's enough that the friend had that experience. We can talk about what happened yesterday and clean up the vibration. You see? So, you don't have an experience when you're 2 or 3 or wherever back there. You don't have an experience, and from the experience, embed the vibration of it into your countenance until later on you have some kind of surgery or some kind of intervention that weeds it out. It isn't like that at all, because your brain is not a storage cabinet where you store vibration. You are a transmitting and receiving mechanism. So all that happened was back there when that happened, you had an experience that you thought about enough that you trained a vibration into that place. And then law of attraction cooperated with you. You felt that way, so you got more. And you felt that way, so you got more. And you felt that way, and you got more. And you felt that way, and you got more. And you got more today. And what we're saying is, you only got to deal with what happened today. Because what happened today happened in response to an active vibration. What happened today happened because today, doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, you've got a vibration going on and a relationship with that vibration. All you got to deal with is where you are now in relationship with where you want to be. And anytime you look back, you hold yourself.
Even when you look back with the intent of healing that?
The intent for improvement is current in your now. Looking back, you have less detail, you have less memory, you have more habits of thought surrounding it. You're more embedded in the thought. In other words, it would be 100 times harder for us to do a focus wheel with the man that we did with today if we were dealing with his past than it was if we were dealing with something that's active in his now. In other words, a lot of the stuff, as you listen to one another, have you ever had a conversation with someone whose family, and you're kind of off you're game on some subject and you're trying to get to the bottom of it, and all of a sudden they're talking about things that you did to them when you were 5 and you don't even remember the incident. So these are the premises that we've got to ask you if we have conveyed to you in a way that you get it. Do you accept that there is a vortex that is the culmination of all that you've become? Yes. We're answering for you. And do you accept?
Yes.
Do you accept that you have a habit of thought that is playing against that? In other words, the only relationship that you need to deal with is the habit of vibration that you got going on now and who you really are. Here's another way of saying it. You'll hear it this time. A man complained to us one day that he had amassed a huge fortune, a veritable empire, and tides had turned and he had lost his fortune. And he was in his 60s and he was devastated because he thought that he had worked his whole life to reach this pinnacle of success, and now he could no way see how he could turn it around in what seemed like the short amount of time that he had left. Another story, we'll wrap them up together here in a minute. A woman had been an artist for many years. She lived in New York. She traveled to California. She wanted to show her portfolio to the people at Hollywood. She thought she could do some art for them. And in the process of traveling across the country, someone broke into her car and stole her portfolio. So she had nothing to show. So she could not see how she could possibly get a job now, since all of her evidence of her talent was gone. And we said to both of them, your lost portfolio or your lost fortune matters not at all, because what's in your vibrational escrow is what your life has caused you to be. There is a vibrational portfolio, a vibrational resonance, a vibrational you, that all you've got to do is find a way of accessing, you see. You don't have to go back and relive all of that that made you that. You are that. You didn't slip back from that. Now that's the positive version of the story that we're talking about with you, which is a more negative version. But the point that we're making is, as you have an experience and you continue to speak about it, you carry it forward in your current vibration. Because it's active in your vibration, more things like it happen, and you carry that forward into your current vibration. So all you ever need to, or all you ever can deal with, is your current vibration. You cannot go back and change a vibration in the past, because all of your power is in your now. And what now is, the reason that now is whole power and potential. The nowness of now, what it is where you meet you, is where the vibration of your current offering and the vibration of who you really are meet, and your emotions tell you how the meeting's doing, you see. That's why you don't have to go back, ever. You got all the information right here and now. I want success and I don't feel successful. That's all you need to know. And if you try to explain for a moment why you don't feel successful, what are you going to do? You're just going to shore up the unsuccessful vibration. You're just going to shore it up. You see? Now that was convincing.
Yes.
So, now you've taken us to another place. So let's talk about this. Oh, this is so good. So, through the life that I've lived, before I came into this physical body and since, I've created a vibrational reality version of what? Of me. Yes? A vibrational reality version of me. And through the life that I've been living, through all that trial and error, I've created a physical reality vibrational version of me. But in both cases, it all came forward. And so, in every moment in time, there's a vibrational version of me and there's a physical reality version of me. And the only thing I need to know is how those two play. Because in all that I've lived, in all that trauma, oh, it's so wonderful. In all that trauma, you were launching rockets of desire into this escrow. So through all of that trouble, this just got bigger and bigger and better and better. Do you know that when you're really sick, in your vibrational reality, you are extra well? Do you know when you're really without enough money. In your vibrational reality, there is lots and lots and lots of money. Do you know, in your moments of confusion, there is so much clarity available to you, you see? So all of that past, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of that past caused the expansion of this. And all you need to know is, here I stand in some sort of vibrational relationship with all of that. All right, now get ready for the big one, because this is the most important thing we've ever said about this topic, or maybe any other. When you're in the vortex, looking back at all of that, you bless every moment of it. Because it created this, and here you are living this. When you're out of the vortex looking back, not so much. So again, we're talking about your relationship with the vortex, and it's all here and now. The only reason that we could even think a little bit that it might be helpful to go back and dig around in that past is because eventually you would discover that digging around in that past doesn't work. It's the only advantage we can see at all. Something more?
Yeah, always. You've spoken about following your bliss, and you love that phrase. How are you to follow your bliss if it is destructive to other people? Now, by that, I'm thinking of,
Where'd you get this stuff? Following bliss,
yes,
that is not our terminology. We were quoting Joseph Campbell,
right,
but we think it is a wonderful phrase. Following your bliss, the way we would define it, means that through life you've become this. And in the vortex, that's bliss. It's clear-minded. It's alignment. And when you move in the direction of that and you close that gap, that is bliss. And we can see no possibility of someone inside the vortex ever causing negative impact on anyone. So what did you mean?
that's what I'm talking about. I think that sometimes the feeling of bliss can be masked as something else. I'm thinking of the pyromaniac or the child molester, who really feel alive and full when they're engaging those
But you
behaviors.
see what you're talking about, and we're talking about degrees of alignment, is that by the time we have a discussion and you have an experience of moving your way into the vortex, we promise you no one from inside the vortex would ever offer any of those kinds of behaviors. Those are all outside the vortex behaviors. And why are they so dramatic? Because through a long life of struggle, this follows perfectly with what we were talking about just now. Through a long life of all of that chaos and struggle and trauma, you have put so much into your vibrational reality. And the more you put into your vibrational reality and the more you hold back from it, the worse you feel. So I feel terrible, which makes me ask to feel better. The larger part of me does have that expansion and involvement, but I don't go. Now the contrast is greater, so I ask harder. And so I become more, but I still don't go, until eventually the trauma of not keeping up with who I am becomes so unpleasant or overwhelming or unbearable that there is some sort of lashing out. And why is that? Now, think about this. You're an advanced group of people. You can handle this conversation. So, do you accept that the vortex is the culmination of all that you have expanded and become, and that it is, by law of attraction, calling you? It's that stream that we were talking about. It's calling you, it's calling you, it's calling you. And can you accept that when you go, you feel better, and when you don't go, you feel worse? Because you've become something that you must be, and when you croak, you'll be it. But meanwhile, you can hold yourself apart from it. So, let's say you're in despair. Let's say you've been mistreated for as long as you can remember, and you feel utterly powerless. And Source is calling you. And as we said earlier, here's this vortex, and when you're in despair, you can't hear the bliss that you're being called to. You can't hear the love and worthiness and clarity and well-being and friskiness that you're being called to. But you're hearing something, And as you gravitate in the natural direction to close the gap, the next logical step is revenge. Because despair is utter powerlessness, and revenge is more control, more empowerment. So, speaking as source, we would rather see you in revenge than in powerlessness. Now, your society would ban us if they ever had the power to do it for such a statement, because they're still out there trying to, outside the vortex, trying to sort everything into piles of right and wrong. They haven't been in the vortex enough to know the power and the clarity and the love and the value of being in the vortex. But we have, so we'll call you into revenge, and then into anger, and then into frustration, and eventually into hope. We'll call you right into the vortex. It's natural that you come that way. So these conversations, many people say that when they hear us talking about how you create your own reality. They say, oh, we don't want people to create their own reality, because what about those mass murderers, those pyromaniacs? What about those terrible child molesters? What about those people that do those bad things to those other people? We don't want them creating their own reality. They might create a reality that we don't want them to create. And we say, first of all, you have no choice, because you cannot get inside of them and offer their own vibration. Only they can. But next of all, you have to understand that this is a diverse world, and everyone wants to feel good. And so we would just put these horrendous acts that you've offered here as someone's trek up the emotional scale who did not make it into the vortex. And there are a lot of, we said to you earlier, all politics is outside of the vortex. Almost all religion is outside of the vortex. You rarely meet someone unless they're newly born or have feathers or fur who is consistently inside the vortex, you see. Most humans struggle in their outside the vortex stuff. And that's why you have endless conversations and endless seminars and endless books and endless trying to sort it all out. That's why we say you have one responsibility and one responsibility only. Get in the vortex and begin to approach life from inside the vortex and feel the power and the leverage of that. You see. So if someone says, I created horrendous acts and I liked it, what they're saying is, it felt better for me to do something bad to you than for you to do something bad to me. And we say, relatively speaking, we don't blame you, because blame always feels better than guilt. But that's not the conversation we're having here today. We're not here encouraging people into revenge. We're here encouraging people through revenge on their way to anger, on their way up the emotional scale, on their way into the vortex, you see.
I guess I was just questioning that internal guide that points you toward bliss. Can we always trust that?
You can, but you've got to get a bead on it, you see. And what happens with so many is that they move from despair into revenge, and then society trounces on them for their bad act, and then they go back to despair and powerlessness. This emotional scale where feeling wonderful at one end, love and bliss, and what that feeling is, the basis of that feeling is self-empowerment. It's being in alignment with who you are. It's closing that gap. It's being all that I am. And at the other end of that is the exact opposite of that, you see. Disempowerment. The only thing that you can fill that gap with is alignment. People drink, they shoot drugs, they eat drugs, they drink alcohol, they go to the store and buy one more thing and bring it home. There are all kinds of ways that people attempt to fill the gap. But there's only one way you can, and that's by coming into alignment with who you really are. That's a big conversation, isn't it? How often do you hear of the man who took his father's gun and went into the whatever and shot a bunch of people? How often do you hear how mistreated he was as a child? In other words, something happened to him, he got that habit of thought stuck in his vibrational craw, and now he is acting from his place of disempowerment. And so we would like to say to the leaders of your world, to the leaders of your organization, to the doctors and scientists, to the psychologists and psychiatrists, to the teachers. We'd like to say to anyone who wants to help anyone, you cannot punish someone into the vortex. You cannot blame them into the vortex. You cannot condemn them or judge them inappropriate into the vortex. Those are all techniques that assure that they will stay out of the vortex. You love them into the vortex. You understand them in. You recognize who they really are. You get a bead on the source within them. You let the contrast that they show you let you know the part of them that you don't want, which helps you to define the part of them that you do want. And then you train yourself to see the part of them that they most are. And when you focus upon who they really are, not who they're being in this moment, there is not a mass murderer among you who inside is not a pure positive energy being. They're just very far from who they are. They've been trained outside of who they are, you see. And while you punish them in every way you can, as you find them abhorrent to your society, it is our promise to you that when they make their death experience, there is not death, there is only eternal life, but when they have that withdrawal from the physical experience, and they will, you all do, they will reemerge into pure positive energy, and they will again be the being that their life has caused them to be. And that's upsetting to a lot of physical beings because they want the punishment to go on. They punished them for their behavior while they were out here outside the vortex. And they would like them to be punished for all time and all eternity. But it is our promise to you that the only punishment that ever happens here in human physical form. And it's when you hold yourself vibrationally apart from who you have become. You just can't get around it. All pain and suffering is self-inflicted. And while it's often influenced, and we know there's plenty of blame to go around, no one can vibrate for you. You're doing it all yourself, you see. So if you're wanting to help your planet be a better place, look at those that you see as the biggest renegades and try to find within you a clear vision of who they really are, and give your undivided attention to who they really are until you revel in the wholeness of who they are and watch them rise to the level of your expectation. Because one who is inside the vortex is more powerful than a million who are not. When you were sick and you stood before the one you know as Jesus, dripping your illness, he did not see your illness. Instead, he knew your wellness. He was inside your vibrational vortex where he knew the perfection of the well-being that was yours. And he knew the exaggerated desire that was yours in the moment of your illness. And he focused completely, in a non-resistant way, upon the wellness of your being. And in doing so, your illness could not abide in that vibration. It vanished because of the influence of his knowing of who you are. It doesn't take many of you. The handful of people who are in this room, you could focus upon the solutions that you seek, and this small gathering would be enough to influence a change in experience, in creation upon this planet. Or you can continue to look at the past and feel the discord of what's happened in the past and use it as another excuse, a continuing excuse to hold yourself away from all you have collectively created. Those renegades that so often are such a problem to your society put more positive stuff into the vibrational reality than the rest of you put together, usually. They're asking in a stronger way, and future generations will benefit from their asking. But this current generation could benefit from it too, if you could get your eye off the problem and start looking toward the solution.